Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Viking Code School information session. My name is Erik Trautman, and I'm the founder of Viking Code School. I currently lead the instruction programs there, and we actually have two programs right now. We have an immersive program and a flexible program, which is currently in public beta. Basically, my goal today is to talk to you guys about what it is that we do and how you can get involved with it, and then answer any questions if anybody out there has any on a live basis, and kind of point you guys in the right directions for getting started. So basically, the Viking Code School is designed to take advanced beginners and make them employable as developers in a wide array of different types of software engineering roles and web development roles in companies. So it's basically it's a fully online school. So there is no in-person component. We offer programs that allow you to take pretty much anything that might fit into your lifestyle. So it's basically, we have an immersive program that allows you, if you have if you're ready to take the leap, ready to go full time, and are committed to making this change into web development, the immersive program allows you to go through with a cohort of other students, and it's a program that we offer on a special tuition or course fee basis, where it's actually deferred, and the tuition is deferred completely until you get a job. So there's a deposit for the program up front, but otherwise it is you pay a percentage of your first year's salary, so that you don't have to take on a whole bunch of debt unless you're actually going to start earning alongside of that. And that's historically been a really strong draw for that program. The other program we offer is a flex program, which allows you to take the program on your own time. It's on a month-to-month basis, and that's a program where it actually shares the exact same curriculum as the immersive program, has the exact same goals, but allows you to take the program from a variety of different backgrounds that might not fit necessarily into the I'm going to quit my job and go take the immersive program style. So again, my goal is to help talk to you guys about all of the different options, what the curriculum is like, and then how to get involved. So the first step is, I think maybe I'll start this time with talking about the curriculum, and basically, like, what are we teaching and why? And so ultimately, as mentioned, the goal for this is that we're trying to teach you how to become an employable software engineer. And that means teaching not just, well, it's essentially a combination of the fundamentals of computer science and software engineering with the new technologies that are used in modern workplaces. And so what that means is the technologies used by high growth companies today. So our core stack takes us through Ruby, Ruby on Rails, JavaScript, AngularJS, SQL, HTML, CSS, Bootstrap, kind of all of the modern web development stack, and gives you the platform that you need to launch forward, because of course every year there's new things coming out. There are a million JavaScript frameworks that keep coming out. Anything that you need to do going forward, at the very least, what we're going to give you is an extremely firm foundation in both the current technological standard and also the fundamentals underneath it, which are important both for building a long-lasting career and for ultimately getting in the door too, because that's what you tend to get tested on. So the curriculum, we start with free prep work, and that's what we recommend everybody goes out and checks out and gets started with, because it also gives you a sense of kind of our approach to teaching. The free prep work, which is available at vikingcodeschool.com/prep. It's going to cover a variety of different things that we don't cover in the core curriculum all the way through, because really, in the end of the day, there's a difference between getting hired as a code monkey and getting hired as a sort of a thinking software engineer. And we think that context is one of the really important things that most other programs tend to miss. And the provision of that context is in a lot of ways the goal of our prep work. And so not only do we teach you the fundamentals of what do web developers do, what is the command line, what is Git, things like that. Also, how do I work with HTML and CSS? How do I work with Ruby? How do I start to build the fundamentals of coding? But we also teach you about design and how does design fit into the whole process? Like, what is visual design? What is a layout? What is user experience and user interfaces and everything along those lines, and to allow you to get up to the point where you're actually comfortable understanding, like, why is this web page being put together the way it is? How do I interface with a designer and use the language that they're using, and so that I'm not sort of terrified of what the front end holds. And then on the other side, we also teach you engineering, because in the end of the day, even though you're not graduating with an engineering degree, the principles of engineering are so fundamental to everything that's going on in software that it's almost crazy not to talk about those in before you start getting into learning how to code, because what engineering is really about is how do we solve problems in a structured fashion, in a structured, repeatable fashion that helps us, both how do we solve those problems on sort of an intellectual level, and then how do we solve them in terms of a process level, working with a team of other engineers. And these are things that a lot of the times you just sort of, you either learn in school or you get dropped into a workplace, and usually it's kind of a combination of both. And we want to make sure that you have that before you even walk in the door. So you have exposure to how do you break down problems like an engineer, how do you pseudocode solutions before you even learn about code, and finally, how do you work within an engineering agile development context, which is how do we organize a team of engineers, point them at a problem, and have them start to work efficiently towards that solution. So all of that's taken care of in our prep work, so that when you come in the door and you start to learn how to code, you actually have everything that you need to really do a good job of understanding why, or like context. Why am I learning the things that I'm learning? And so, our core language for getting started right now is Ruby. Ruby is a wonderful language if you've been playing with JavaScript, which most people are, at some point or another. You'll find Ruby a little bit weird in the syntax, and then immediately you'll start to feel warm and fuzzy as it hugs you and gives you so many wonderful things and makes life easy for you. And so Ruby is our core language, and we spend quite a bit of time going through it and diving into the details of how do you actually work with object-oriented programming. How do you write tests? How do you learn algorithms and data structures from the perspective of both Ruby and then lower level languages like C, so that you understand what's going on a computer level, so that you can work with things like time complexity and space complexity and start to make trade-offs between the different alternatives that you have on an engineering basis. From there, we'll take you into the web, again, using Ruby as our base. We'll show you how to work with APIs, how to scrape data off of websites, how to crawl the web, how to start putting up your own websites using the Sinatra framework, and then finally we'll start getting you into Rails. Our philosophy with Rails and our philosophy with everything is really build the tools you're going to use before you use them. So one thing that's important to know about this program is that it's not a one-size-fits-all. We don't have you copy-paste code. We don't have like a nice little editor where you type things and it tells you these helpful little messages. This is the Wild West. If you're going to go on a job and you've been taught only using those kinds of tools, you're going to have a really hard transition getting in the door. We're empowering you to take on development on your own machine with your own tools and building projects from the ground up. And part of that for us is helping you build the tools that you're going to use. And so part of that philosophy from a macro perspective is we want to make sure that you have a damn good understanding of how data works, because data really is the core of what goes into a web application. It's everything. I mean, for many companies, the foundation of the value they have as a company lies in the data that they've collected. And so many web applications customize the heck out of their user experiences based purely on that data. So we spend a lot of time really focusing on helping you understand how data works, how data works itself, how you can start to break down websites and turn them into a constructive data model, and then actually start putting your database together and working with it and talking to it using the SQL language. Once you do that, then we start building you up into Rails from the bottom up. So not from the sort of like, oh, here's a website, don't worry, it won't bite. This is HTML and CSS, and then we'll like carefully step downwards. We do the opposite. You've learned data. We've given you the hard stuff. We're going to have you bubble upwards from the data side and say, once you're comfortable with data, you're comfortable with active record, which is how Rails talks to data. You have pretty much everything you need to build some really kick-ass web apps. And then from there, we just take you forward and teach you about everything else you need to know to get through Ruby on Rails and all of its patterns. We'll take you into some more advanced stuff as well around like optimizing applications, delaying jobs, uploading to Amazon, things like that. But in the end of the day, really, if you have a great understanding of data, you have pretty much the core that you need to be a great software engineer. From Ruby on Rails, we'll take you into a transition into JavaScript, because for us, the goal is really to make you both a front-end developer and a back-end developer, which of course includes the fact that then you're a full-stack developer. And so when we get into the front-end side, we're going to take just as serious a look at JavaScript as we did at Ruby. So that means that going well beyond just a touch of JavaScript and some jQuery, we're going to take you all the way down through the guts of the language, so you really understand, what happens when you lift the hood on JavaScript. How does it interface with the browser's API? All the different aspects of working with JavaScript. We'll take you into full stack JavaScript, working with AJAX calls, and then starting to create well-architected applications, single-page applications. Finally, teaching you the AngularJS framework, which is an MVStar framework in JavaScript. and one of the most popular ones out there these days. But really, in the end of the day, which framework you're learning matters a lot less at this point, because there are so many of them, and they're all relatively the same, that you can sort of bounce from one to another with limited transition time. So really, the core there is that you get to build some really fast, snappy, modern web applications on the front end, and you have the tools that you need to then take the next step into whatever technology stack it is that you take from there. So then finally, the other thing to talk about, two other things to talk about. One is final projects. So the final project for the course, regardless of how you take it, is a project that you have to work with other people on, and it's one that's designed to give you an understanding of what it's like to work on an engineering team. So you work with other people, you take an idea from idea to mock-up, to writing out your user stories, to prioritizing those stories, pointing those stories, and then assigning it to your team across two either one or multiple week sprints. Each of which has has sort of a sprint retrospective. You're going to work with someone who's going to sort of help you project manage it, and then ultimately take it to a demo to the whole internet at large. And that's really the core bit here of your portfolio, which is the crowning achievement, which is this actual software engineering project that you've put together, which gives you some experience. Even though no one paid you for it, it really is an actual experience of working on a team. And then the final thing is careers. And so obviously the goal for almost all students going through the program is ultimately to get a job as a developer. And so that's why before we even get you in the door, we're going to have you working on all sorts of things related to, starting to build yourself up as a developer, starting to make yourself marketable, starting to clean yourself up, and start to think a lot more clearly about how and what it is that you're going to be going after down the road. As your skills rise, you also need to sort of complete that. It's like you have to be good and you have to show people that you're good. And so we're also going to be helping you with showing yourself much more favorably to the market. And that includes not just sort of the usual standard resume type stuff, but it also includes making sure that you understand what your position is in the world as someone coming from typically a non-traditional background, going through a program like this and then coming out and being qualified to work, but having to convince employers that you're actually qualified, and ultimately having to stand out from all the other students who are coming out of programs like this. And so we have a lot of experience at this point working with that, and we've codified that into our curriculum so that you have a really good sense of what is the system that you're getting into, and then how can you start to skirt around the edges and find your way so that you can bubble up where other people have sort of gotten stuck in the cattle get stuck in the cattle car on the way in. So that's basically the curriculum in terms of the format of the program. And by the way, for the curriculum, again, if you want to sort of get a taste of it, conceptually speaking, it's not identical to how we've set up the core curriculum, but the prep work is a really good first stop. So that's vikingcodeschool.com/prep. Go check it out. And then as far as the programs go, right now we have two programs. The Immersive Program is where you go through in 16 weeks. It's 2 8-week chunks with a 1 week in the middle for a break, and that covers the whole duration of the program. It's you're going through with a cohort of other students, typically somewhere in the realm of 12 to 18 students, and you're working every single day, pair programming with other students, a different student every day, and you're building projects constantly. You have group chats 3 times a day with the whole group and the instructors, and basically it's you give over your life to code for the duration of 16 weeks. And it's typically students will spend about 80 hours a week on the program. So there's no room for a part-time job. There's no room to study. You're all in if you're immersive. And that's the program where we offer it on a deferred tuition basis. The other program that we offer right now, which is public beta, is a flex program. And so basically the idea of that is that anyone else who's not quite at the point where the immersive program is a good fit, you have an option to take the program on your own pace, at your own time, and for whatever budget and support it is that matches what you're hoping to get. So we offer that program right now for 3 different levels. We have a basic tier, which everyone gets access to the basic support of our whole community on Slack. The Codecast speakers who come in and talk to our group from industry, you can ask them all sorts of questions. And then we have live office hours with instructors throughout the week. So you basically just show up, ask questions as if you were kind of opening the door to a professor in school. And you can bring in some code, you can ask questions. It's kind of your time to interact with them directly one-on-one, or one-on-many, or sometimes nobody shows up, sometimes you're working with other students. The other tiers are actually mentor-led, and so what that means is that we'll actually match you up for one-on-one support with an industry mentor. So you have anywhere from 1 to 3 check-ins each week with that mentor who will provide direct one-on-one code review for you and can also answer any questions you have about life on the other side, and generally can also sort of point you in the right direction with your job search. And for those of you in the Flex program, that also allows you to start to get mock interviews from live industry people as well as part of that, where you can sort of trade some of your check-ins for mock interviews along the way. The Flex program is go at your own pace. It's a month-to-month, so students typically take anywhere from say 6 to 10 months to complete. It totally depends. We generally say it's about 1,200 hours, and that'll kind of depend on how many hours per week you're able to devote to it. Obviously, there are a million caveats in terms of prior experience and aptitude and things like that. But in the end of the day, the benchmark is about 1,200 hours, and so you can kind of decide what tier is the right fit for you based on how fast you expect to go through it, how much time you can put into it, things like that. And so that's a program where you go at your own pace, and you don't have a cohort of students, but we do encourage you to reach out to other students in the program who are kind of close by to you, and we provide you a bunch of different ways to identify those students. And we will, and basically you can reach out to them and work with them. So that program is, as I said, it uses the exact same curriculum as the Immersive program. We put it together because it's, we've had a lot of students come to us and ask us questions about I love the Immersive program, but can I take it on my own? And so here we are. Now we have this offered out, and we have a number of students going through that right now who have had some great experiences with it. So I think that covers everything that I'd like to chat about right now. If there are any questions, if you're watching live, feel free to use the Q&A app. That is, I believe it's somewhere up on the top. You can drop it down. There's a little Q&A section, and I'll be able to answer any questions you have. If you're in the Google event, you can also type in your questions, and I'm happy to answer them. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of hang out here for another 30 seconds or so, and just see if anyone has a question, if you want to ask anything, and otherwise. Yeah, we'll go from there. So in the meantime, while you guys, if you have questions or are thinking of them, I'm just going to say that if you want to, one thing that is actually good to talk about is how to get involved. The other difference between the Immersive program and the Flex program is that the Immersive program does have an application process. It's a very, very competitive program to get into because there are a limited number of seats, and it moves very, very quickly. The Flex program, because it's go at your own pace, we don't have quite the same application process. Really, you're able to join when you feel like you're ready, and we'll generally chat with you and assess that the program is indeed a good fit for you. And if it is, then we'll talk to you about how to get involved, and it's kind of off to the races. So the Flex program starts every Monday. You're able to start basically as soon as you're ready. And the Immersive program, we have cohorts that run several times a year, and you apply for that. And then once you get in, there's a whole prep period as well where you're kind of preparing yourself to get in, because it is such an intense experience. So I don't believe that there are any questions out there right now. So what I want to say is if you'd like to learn more or get involved, if you have questions, reach out to hello@vikingcodeschool.com. If you want to just kind of stay in touch and get a really cool newsletter, just go to our homepage and enter your email address. We send out a weekly newsletter and notifications of when upcoming cohorts are happening. And if you want to apply, vikingcodeschool.com/apply. And then my favorite place and the first stop that you should probably take is vikingcodeschool.com/prep, which tells you all about our prep work and everything that you can do to kind of get started, get your brain up to speed, and learn more about the skills that you need, and also what our program's all about. So thanks a lot, everyone, for listening. I hope you guys learned a thing or two, and thanks for sticking to the end. And I hope that I can see you in the next couple of weeks, days, months, or years. Have a good one.